Next panel is going to be inside of Puerto Rico's first digital bank. And we have two distinguished gentlemen here with us. We have Carlos Garcia. He currently serves as the chairman and the CEO of Nave Bank, mission-driven, FDIC-insured neobank in Puerto Rico with a strong focus in community and digital-first approach. And he's joined by Becker, former CEO of Silicon Valley Bank from 2011 to 2023. He's currently advising several companies and ventures like Red Ventures, which we had earlier. He's had over 30 years in career in banks. So please help me welcome them as they talk about Puerto Rico's first digital bank. Thank you.
Bueno, good morning, buenos días. Pleasure to be here with all of you. Greg and I met recently at a conference at Red Ventures. Red Ventures is one of our partners, and Greg is acting as a strategic advisor to Red Ventures. And it is great to be able to share the stage with him. We're going to try to take you inside the journey of Nave Bank. Greg was also the former CEO of Silicon Valley Bank, so he has a great perspective. I mean, they created a great loyalty program. So before starting with that, just want to position a little bit of our stories, because I think this background it's important for the stories that we're going to tell. So, I mean, in my case, I have had the pleasure of basically growing my career in Puerto Rico, having been a former president of Banco Santander, Puerto Rico, and then going into the U.S., I mean, to be one of the top executives in Santander running the operations in the U.S. So basically both of those perspectives. And also, I've been quite involved on the island, initially in the private sector, and had two opportunities to be able to serve, once in the government of Puerto Rico, and then in the Federal Oversight Board, which has created a great perspective. So now, moving forward, the past 13 years, I've been living with my family in Boston, and we're pleased that we have returned to the island. I mean, now with a different perspective. I mean, as a mentor, a constructor of a business, and to be able to bring a new perspective on digital banking and disrupt our local banking industry. So that's a little bit of my perspective, and I look forward to taking you all, I mean, through our journey. So, Greg.
Great. Thanks, Carlos. It's great to be here with all of you. It's great to be in Puerto Rico. I haven't spent that much time in Puerto Rico, but the few times that I have, and this time as well, it's been awesome. So I know that there's issues on population decline and different things. I don't know why people wouldn't want to stay here and come here. It seems like an amazing place, and I could see why you want to come back. As Carlos said, my background, I spent 30 years at Silicon Valley Bank. When I started, there was 100 employees, so very small. When I left in 23, we had basically 10,000 employees. And we could spend a whole lot of time talking about what happened in 2023. That's a whole nother panel, another discussion, another time. But what I want to talk about today, and we'll talk about together, is really about what made SVB so special from a client engagement perspective. To me, that's what is exciting. That's what I loved. I don't know how many people can say they loved their job and they loved what they did. I loved my job. I was able to spend time with some of the most innovative companies in the entire world from literally day one. I remember being at San Francisco when Traverse started Uber. I remember when Airbnb was started. I remember when these companies got off the ground when they were small companies. And to feel that we were at least a little bit of their success, a little bit of how they were formed, to me was truly thrilling. So we're up here today to talk about the digital bank, the Nave Bank, and really how what we learned at Silicon Valley Bank, I think, can be applied in many ways at Nave Bank. And that's what we want to share you. So it's going to be a little bit different than what you've heard from other panels. I'm going to ask Carlos some questions. He's going to ask me some questions. I'm going to finish asking him some questions. But I'm going to ask towards the end, the audience, some questions, so some audience participation. And then we're going to wrap with some Q&A that we're hopefully going to have some time for at the end. So with that, let me just dive in to ask Carlos you a few questions. And you talked about your background. You talked about how much time, quite honestly, you spent away from Puerto Rico, even though you were from Puerto Rico. Maybe just start with why start something in Puerto Rico? Why come back to Puerto Rico? What was your rationale for that?
I mean, the rationale has been twofold. I've been involved before in a lot of projects that have been reconstructing things or having to change things or looking to fix things. So it's great to be able to come back, with a project that is bringing capital into Puerto Rico. It's bringing opportunity, to young professionals, which is one of the biggest challenges. And then if you put that into the background, why banking? Banking has changed a lot in Puerto Rico in the past. Since in 1995, Puerto Rico has over 20 banks. Right now it's 5 banks and 3 banks control basically 90% of the market. So, and it's a branch-based model. And I think, we heard about AI and we continue to hear about technology, and we went through the pandemic and all of us were basically forced, to basically engage in the digital world. So the digital technology has improved significantly in the past few years. Creating a bank from scratch maybe 10 years ago would have been a major challenge, but the way that technology has evolved in the past decades, makes this, something very possible. So the idea was we could do something very different in which we can empower businesses initially and eventually individuals to be able to put on their hands and on their power an institution that can serve them, that can be cost efficient and will make things better for you. And we'll tell more about that very shortly.
Yeah, that's great. One of the things, again, since haven't come here that often, getting to know more about the island and hearing about the population decline. Rick's talked a lot about that and what he's been spearheading at Red Ventures and how to create more opportunities for really young emerging individuals to stay on the island, to come to the island. It's really, really compelling, but it's still challenging. And one of the things that you talked about over the last few times that we've met was this opportunity that you see ahead in the next 10 years for Puerto Rico. And you said to me, quote, it was the next 10 years is going to be the best 10 years in the last 4 decades. So can you just provide some substance behind that statement, and why do you feel that way?
There's a lot that still needs to be done, and we heard Manolo Sidre this morning just recognizing that. But I think sometimes we get lost into seeing how many things need to be fixed when we forget to focus on all the small things that we can do better and are doing better. In our case at Nave Bank, we're a team now of 45. Most of our team are engineers. That was facilitated by a Red Ventures program and a commitment to be able to bring young professionals and Puerto Ricans into Puerto Rico. Of that, the average age of most of our staff is around 30 years old. These are people that graduated from the best universities, here in Puerto Rico and also in the States. These were people who were working in different companies in the US and that didn't fathom the possibility of being able to return to Puerto Rico to be able to make a change. So I would say the thing that drives me the most on a daily basis is basically that engagement, that we're training that young generation of new bankers, in a sense that it's really also technology experts that are looking into pain points and solutions for businesses in Puerto Rico in order to be able to make that better. So I think Puerto Rico is starting a virtuous circle that comes, from 2 places. I think all you as a community, many of you making a decision of moving your businesses into the island or changing your residence into Puerto Rico, and all the local also community that is gathering around and trying to do new things and new opportunities without having gotten some of the issues, general issues of the government finances behind us. also the federal programs that are helping the island. I know we all complain. I mean, it's a lot of billions of dollars, and we would want those funds to be faster. And we still have a major challenge in being able to improve our energy. But after coming back for 13 years, I see it on a daily basis. I mean, small, gradual improvement that gives me a lot of hope and enthusiasm at understanding why this is the time for Puerto Rico, and certainly these are going to be the best decade in a long time for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, you heard a little bit earlier from Extilian and Bertil about the talent that he's brought on board at his company. And I was meeting with him yesterday, and he was saying, this talent isn't just good talent in Puerto Rico. This talent is actually competitive with talent that we see around the world. And his view is that he can double in the next 12 months and double the next 12 months after that. So you're talking about lots of talent, lots of capabilities in the island, on the island, but also being brought to the island. And so I think those are the sort of things that seem to be really driving. Maybe one last question on Puerto Rico overall is, when you think of the bank itself, how is the bank, and you talked about it a little bit, maybe just expand on, how is the bank going to help facilitate this, I'll call, opportunity that you view that Puerto Rico has?
So, I mean, first of all we have raised at the bank over $100 million of capital. I mean, that is available to be deployed, for lending. So we're very active right now in supporting businesses, with working capital lines of credits, also doing commercial real estate and commercial and industrial loans. So the idea is to be able to support, all sorts of corporations, from small businesses to middle businesses and even to large corporates, and to be able to bring an electronic banking system that would allow you to be able to easily transact. I have a friend here. Apologies. One of our top clients now. Yeah. So the idea is basically, to be able to use, technology to be able to facilitate, the day-to-day lives. Being able to move you away from a branch, to be able to use the systems and the connections into the rest of the banking system in Puerto Rico and into the US to be able to facilitate those activities. So Greg, why don't you tell us about Silicon Valley Bank? Since I met you, I've been fascinating, by your story. You were able, in a period of 30 years, to be able to create a client loyalty that I have never seen at any other organization. You became the go-to bank for new ventures, for businesses, for basically the whole Silicon Valley and San Francisco. You grew a bank, to be one of the top 25 banks in the US and be able to get to $200 billion. But more amazing than those numbers is, what is the work that it takes as we're trying to emulate that, as we're creating the culture that we want to be able to bring to clients like all of you who are here?
Yeah, it really started, I started in 1993. We had less than 100 employees. I was 24 years old, and I left traditional banking to join SVB at the time. And the bank I left, fine traditional bank, but it was a traditional bank. And what I found as soon as I joined SVB is a different view of clients, a different view of how important the importance they were placed on clients. It was a different view of how to spend time. I'll just give you a few examples. We never had clients come into the office. We were always out in the market being with clients. We always had a focus on what can we do as individuals to help a company. And that didn't mean just banking. Banking was like a small part of it. It was, what could you do to help that company be successful? Our first CEO, Roger Smith, was just obsessive about that. And I think that's quite honest, it's why I really fell in love with SVB, because you could see the passion, you could see the appreciation, you could see the client engagement, you could see the employee engagement. And that was something that was very, very different. So that's probably the biggest thing, is just how it started out. And it really, from day one until 2023 when I left, that was top of mind for everyone, and that was the biggest differentiation.
And I mean, how did you achieve to be able to differentiate yourself from competitors? I mean, it's hard. There are a lot of banks. There's a lot of competition. So what was the secret sauce?
Yeah, there was literally in the U.S. You talked about 5 banks in Puerto Rico. In the mainland U.S., you had roughly 8,000. So the competitive landscape is completely different. When I think about our differentiation, I'd probably put it in four categories. First was just our specialization. People thought we were crazy. It's like there's not a big enough market to focus on venture-backed companies and venture capitalists. It's not big enough. Well, when you bank more than 50% of all the venture capital-backed companies in the United States, when you bank more than 2/3 of the 3,000 venture capital firms, and these companies start to scale up to become large companies, you can create a very large institution. So, when companies would want to come to us, it's like when you walked in the door and you were a business development officer or a relationship manager, you knew everything about a software company. You knew everything about a venture capitalist. And so you were speaking the same language. So industry focus was number one. Number two was just, I'll call it the client experience. We did an amazing job about taking care of individuals, companies, and them personally, and making their lives easy, making it easy to do business with us, opening up accounts fast, taking care of really anything that they needed to get done. The third thing, and I talked about this earlier, is this obsession with being part of their success. And what that, just to make it real, we wanted to be that first phone call. When somebody wanted to find a new CFO, when somebody wanted to raise capital, when somebody wanted to say, I've never seen this situation before, can you help? We could put them in touch with another software company or another biotech company or another hardware company who had gone through the same thing. And so that passion was really meaningful. And the final part is, I would just say, empathy for clients. It is really, really tough starting a company. It's really tough starting a technology company. And so being empathetic to the challenges they're going through and being there to help them out was really meaningful. I'll just do one quick story. When the pandemic hit, kind of everything shut down. Kind of the world shut down for a period of time. And these venture-backed companies, thousands of them, were struggling with am I going to be able to raise more money? Am I going to have future sales? And we had lent them money. So we could have said easily, boy, this is going to be really challenging. You're going to be in trouble. Let's call your loan, right? There's going to be a default coming. We did the exact opposite. We said to our clients, you didn't create this problem. This problem was created out of your control. We want to be here to help you. Of course, we worked with our regulators to make sure they were comfortable with it, but we went to our clients and said, we're going to for anyone that has a venture loan, we're going to give you a 6-month payment deferral. We're going to move it to the back end of the loan. We're going to do it for free. We're going to document it with 3 pages, DocuSign it, and we're going to have it done in a week. To me, that's being empathetic to your clients, having a client-centric model. And so those are a few of the things that we prided ourselves on being differentiated. And when you do that, you do create client loyalty and deep client relationships.
So before we move to Nave Bank, as you reflect on the client journey, so what would you have done differently that could have made, a bigger difference, and what can we all learn from that?
That's an easy one, and it's also one that Nave Bank kind of puts in my mind and reminds me. If I were to do one thing differently, thinking about the client journey, it would have been doing a much better job of building out a technology platform that would make it easier for our clients to engage with us. We were awesome. We were awesome at that, the personal side, the personal touch, the phone call, solving their problems. Our technology was average, in some cases below average, and it took us too long to realize that. Now I own that. That was my responsibility, and quite honestly, seeing what you guys are doing is super impressive, and I wish we would have had and done things like what you are doing now for your clients.
So moving on, let's talk a little bit then about Nave Bank, which is a lot of what we wanted to convey of the story. So, who is Nave Bank? Nave Bank, it's a local bank. It's the first local bank that has been created in Puerto Rico in a few decades. As you can imagine, getting a banking license, it's fairly difficult to get the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So it's been a long journey. It took us over 2 years to be able to do that. But we're a Puerto Rico State Charter Bank. We are FDIC insured, and we also make the big decision to become a member of the Federal Reserve Bank. That basically gives us direct access, to the Federal Reserve banking window, and provides a lot of liquidity to the bank. So that's one of the main points of the business. Then the second part has been, how do we create a technology? So we're currently focused initially on businesses, and we have a value proposition that basically gives you 3 very important things. So the first one is, we can open an account for you in 15 to 20 minutes. You don't have to go to a branch, because that has been one of the biggest points and experiences. The second very important point that we can provide is, we allow you to have access to all sorts of digital modules. So typically when you go to a bank, you have to contract an online banking, you have to contract a wire module, you have to contract an ACH module. As a digital bank, all this already comes embedded, directly on our banking platform, and you're able to move money back and forth.
So before I ask you a couple more questions about Nave, this is audience participation. How many of you love your existing experience with your bank? Raise your hand. Like, if you love it, right? So we got a few hands out here. Okay, so the Nave team, you should go talk to those people. So keep your hands raised, right? There's a few of you, so that's good. If the whole audience raised your hand, this is going to be a really short discussion, just so you know. What to me, when we were talking about this, what I was surprised by is the fact that here you have to go into a branch to send a wire. That it just doesn't make sense. And so you're talking about what you were doing. I was like, maybe just talk about a little bit more about the offering and why it's so differentiated. And then we can talk about what you want to communicate to this group as far as an offering to this group.
Yeah, so the first basic functionality that you would expect from a digital bank is once you open the account, which I said it's a pretty simple process, 15 to 20 minutes, it's very transparent information, everything happens directly in the platform, you provide the information, we review the information, and in less than 24 hours, we're able to open an account for you. So you have a single sign-on. Once you have a single sign-on, and we're using encrypted technology, we can identify and we know who you are. We have a multi-factor authentication, which basically serves as a digital token, so you don't have to have anything else. So we know who you are. So we give you the ability to be able to send a wire from your account in whichever way you want. And in addition to that, we have done something else that other banks don't do, which is that we are allowing you to connect directly your business account with an account at any other bank, which you can transfer then money in and out of the account, without having to go through any sort of hassle. So this basically applies the same to a wire. The money, it's your money. You have your money in your account. You can configure any sort of templates or individual transactions in any way. Our team is there ready to be able to assist you in putting together all these different templates and transactions. And then you can easily send a wire wherever you want to be able to send that wire.
It's great. So what else from an offering perspective? And then I want to be able to open it up to questions and see what kind of questions the audience has.
So the other thing that we're doing in our introductory offer is, we're basically for the next 6 months, we're not charging anything, for being able to open an account. We want to be able to give you that experience, without any sort of hassle. So you can open the account, you can experience us. And then the other differentiating factor is also that we're connecting a spending account with a savings account. and we're offering a pretty high introductory high yield rate of 3%. I mean, as you know, as rates have continued to go down, you may have money out there on business accounts, and those business accounts are yielding practically nothing or something very little. We want to be able to compensate you for those balances and the ability for you to be able to have different use cases. I mean, you can use us as a platform to be able to do all your electronic transactions, or you can use us as the repository of your funding. It's a savings account, so you can move the money in and out. You don't have to be locked in for any sort of period of time. So those are some of the very important features. And then we're also in the business of disrupting. So we have made a very big decision, which is we want to abolish paper checks. So paper checks are costly. I don't know if you're aware, but I mean, issuing and delivering a check costs anywhere from $2 to $3. Then you have to do the reconciliation of the account. And we have created a novel new product that is called Nave check, which basically looks like a check, but is an electronic transaction. The only things as a payer that you have to provide is name of the company or person you're paying, the dollar amount, and the email of the recipient. And we have created a whole digital flow, and we take care of the rest. I mean, we contact digitally that payee and have created a trusted feature so that payee will input the information, and then the money will be transferred electronically, I mean, from your business account to whoever you're trying to pay. This has the ability to be able to be programmed. So many of you that like to have the float in your checking account, you have the ability to be able to program up to 30 days of the payment. So we can send the notification to the payee, letting them know, hey, business X is paying you, and that person will receive it. We get the information, and then we process the transaction. So it's a really nice feature. It's called Nave Check. I mean, we have a booth outside with some of our people, so we're glad to give you a demo and be able to demonstrate, I mean, the power of our platform and put it to use for all your businesses.
That's great. Thanks, Carlos. So we got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Any questions in the audience for Carlos or myself? Back here.
Hello. So my wife and I also have businesses in Cameroon and in Nigeria. And international banking has been, for lack of a better discussion, an absolute pain. How are you working towards making that less painful and easier for us to make transactions in those foreign countries?
That's a great question. We're not ready yet to serve you on the international side, but it's certainly on our roadmap. I mean, this is the good thing about being a digital bank, that you can continue to innovate and be able to add products. And that is in our roadmap for next year. I mean, we understand that, I mean, international business and being able to do transactions is critical. I mean, especially if you're exporting. This is one of the reasons what we're promoted. And we hope to be able to serve you at some point next year.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, so my name is Sebastian Serrano. I'm currently a college student studying finance and business in college. So I just wanted to say that it's a great to listen to you guys and bring a new bank to Puerto Rico that's innovative. So that's very interesting and fun, especially for me as aspiring to do some career in banking. So that's very inspiring. And my question is basically, Puerto Rico being an aging population, when targeting eventually the consumers and the individuals in banking services, how do you expect to successfully execute that transition for Puerto Rican individuals when you eventually reach that step in the phase for Nave?
So thank you. No, very good question also. So, I mean, right now, as I said, we started servicing businesses. And I mean, our idea is not just to serve, I mean, large corporate of established businesses. I mean, our idea is to be able to serve the small business. I mean, the people, the entrepreneurs. I mean, a lot of the story of Silicon Valley Bank. I mean, we want to be able to give you support. And this is why us being able to don't have the branches, don't have to have the personnel. I mean, we can offer things much more efficiently to be able to help the small businesses. I mean, for a small business today, sometimes it's quite overpowering going out to a bank and how do I go there and get all the explanations. And then it seems that that they will charge you for everything. So what we're trying to do is just to make it very simple. I mean, electronic banking is here. There's no reason why all businesses shouldn't have access to electronic banking. I mean, there's no reason why you should be sending checks if you could have the money that same day or immediately in the account of somebody else. So that's journey number one, and this is the offer that we currently have available to be able to provide. But we want to bank the young generation. So the next step is we are going to be also into the retail banking side, and it's the same type of value proposition. I mean, we want to be able to put in your hands the ability to be able to manage your money, cost you less if you need a loan, pay you more if you have saving balances, and charge you very minimally or nothing for you to be able to transact and be able to move your money wherever you want to. So I mean, that's the aspiration, and we're targeting that young generation, which is pretty much reflective of our employee base. I mean, our team members are young team members, and they're helping us being able to deliver and develop, I mean, what we all need.
Hi, my name is Andres. I'm also a college student studying finance. My question is more directed towards Greg. I wanted to see what is the trend you saw as a constant within all those founders, Travis, Uber, Airbnb, etc., throughout your time in SVB?
One more time.
What is the trend you saw as a constant within your time in Silicon Valley Bank across those founders, and what characteristics made them stand out in order to lead to that success they
Yeah.
had?
So first off, it's really hard to predict. When you meet some of these entrepreneurs, and maybe this is the commonality, they're a little crazy, and they're bold, audacious, and what the ideas they have are so out there. I mean, again, using Travis as an example, I remember sitting in his office, and he was talking about, I mean, they had one office, and they just launched in San Francisco. He was talking about how he was going to be rolling this out across the world. And I remember walking out of the meeting going, that's crazy. How is this going to go? And let's focus on San Francisco, not just think about the rollout across the entire world. So I think it's the audacity to dream and then back it up with execution in a way that it's hard to think about. And you think about, not to go back to Nave Bank, but I think it's an important example. Technology and innovation allows you to do things that just the traditional way things were done, just you can do it differently. Extilian was talking about that, and Tony was talking about that with AI, and I think that's the power of innovation, and that's what, again, for me was so compelling. But at the entrepreneur, I would say you got to be a little bit crazy, you got to be a little bit audacious, and you have to believe in this optimistic view of where things are going to go. And the last part is resiliency. You're going to get knocked down 1,000 times. And to pick yourself up every single time and keep fighting, that is a trait that you see every single successful entrepreneur. So with that, I think we're out of time.
I think we're out of time. Thank you, Greg, for sharing this time, and thank
Thanks,
you to all
Carlos.
of you for
Thank
having
you.
us. Thanks.